Right, today, it's the next day. I'm going to talk about the characters. Characters in detail. This one is number, I've got a list here now. 2. Right, Ross Bond. He was very into military sort of electronics and weaponry, etc. very early on. He went through the army, did a couple of tours with the SAS, but as an equipment specialist, and was out in Afghanistan. God, I've got this virus, I reckon. And basically got blown up. So he had to go back to Camp Bastion and was in the hospital there, where Tasia was the nurse. So before I go on to her, I'm just saying about Ross Bond. That was basically it for him. He was an equipment specialist. Now, in the books, he comes back to find his father in a care home. Even though I wrote the books, I can't remember. It's quite a while ago now. It's here anyway. And yeah, and basically he said, go and live in my Welsh cottage. They retired. Him and his wife retired to the Welsh cottage. She died. They also bought, with the money from their English house, a villa in Corfu, or was it Spain, Portugal? It's ridiculous, I can't remember. I think it was Corfu. And a boat as well. So that comes up after a while in one of the books, and they do a couple of operations out there using the villa and the boat. So that's quite a good one, that one. I think that's the end of book 1 that happens. Right, so while Ross is laying in hospital, gets to know this girl, takes her Facebook account or telephone number at the end of it, and doesn't see her again until one day when he's wondering what to do, wondering about this Welsh cottage. She rings him to say she's standing outside her house in oh no, she's been arrested. That's right, because she got back to her mum and dad as soon as she went in the army. She went in as TA first, medical, and obviously got seconded to go out to Afghanistan, like they all do, to work in the hospital. So she was in the TA in Bletchley, near Milton Keynes, as a medic. And one of the other jobs she took over in the TA was trying to get the SA-80 rifle firing properly, because in those days they were A1 and not the new A2, and she managed to do this and get them to fire all 30 rounds without a stoppage. And then after that she went through all the other, she did her own SA-80, but she went through all the other ones too in the armoury and filed bits off and polished bits and got them working properly. So that was that. So in Afghanistan she did her tour, came back, found that the house had been taken over by squatters, and basically threw them all out, because she's a Russian and she's very moody and doesn't take any rubbish from anybody, certainly doesn't follow many laws. So she threw one of them out the window and beat a few of them up, and you know, because her background when she was a kid, her mum and dad were martial arts people, and they used to force her to go to do martial arts with them at the gym and at home. So, and she didn't like that, which is one of the reasons why she joined the TA. But she was still quite good at it, and in the book she needs that quite a bit. So so anyway, she's a very moody person. Ross got the job of going from Wales to Milton Keynes headquarters police station to pick her up and take her back. So she ended up staying in the cottage with Ross, and right. So that's her story. Now she basically she has her own SA-80 in the books. I don't think she bothers with the M4s as such, because I know a lot of M4s are flying around, which is the American current issue rifle. So yeah, that's her. Yeah, there's a lot throughout the film where she's moody. She never quite, in any of the books, never quite hits it off with Ross, although we keep it very, very close, because apparently that keeps all the ladies occupied in the film, you know, what's going to happen. Right, Harry. Now, Harry used to come up to see Ross's dad when he was at the cottage, or when they were at the cottage, and mess about in the workshop with him. It's a big workshop there, which is what Ross's dad always wanted, and he used to was doing up a Mini, a Z-Cars Mini this is. So we need Z-Cars. If anyone knows anybody from there, to say, you know, we want them incorporated in these films with their cars. A Z-Cars Mini, basically, with the Yamaha R1 engine. Anyway, actually, mind you, the Subaru engined Fiat 500 was quite good too. We could get them to commission another one of those, or whatever he. I can't remember the chap's name now. I did know his name. Chap who runs it. Anyway, so Harry, yeah, he used to come up and visit Ross's dad, keep him occupied when the and he lived quite a way down the road, but used to walk the journey anyway, basically to get away from the village bullies and that. So we're trying to get the bullying aspect in too, and some of the tricks you can use against bullies, which we want to try and get into the films. So yeah, anyway, so he knows, you know, he was making stuff in Ross's dad's workshop quite a bit, and knew what he was doing, and learnt off Ross's dad, and was helping him with the Mini, etc., until Ross's dad, I think, he had a heart attack or a stroke or something, and had to go into this home. But yeah, and he's called Harry because he's normally dressed in schoolboy outfit because he comes straight from school, and has always got glasses on, which is why we couldn't say his Welsh name, or Ross couldn't say his Welsh name, so just used to call him Harry. Ross Bond, he got his name. He was called something else, but after a few operations where he had to change his name, had to come up with something within 30 seconds. He says, right, what do you want to be called? Otherwise we'll give you a name. And the officer was holding a pen. So his heroes are Ross Kemp, who does the TV documentaries and gets himself into some pretty sticky situations. So he's one hero, and he was also in the army. I think he was, I don't think he was in the parachute regiment as such. I know he was when he was in EastEnders. His character was in the parachute regiment. I think he was in a different unit. And Bond, obviously being James Bond, because we're going to have a lot of James Bond people working on these films. So that's why he got the name Ross Bond, and he stuck with that, because most of his paperwork was to do with it after that anyway. Also, he's being looked for by, which also come up in the 30 books, people looking for him because of huge big operations, and to do with drugs and things were all uncovered, and well, basically compromised by him. So that's Harry. Right, the twins, when these two have something to do with the circus, or friends. I don't know how they got down to the circus. It's in the book. I can't remember what I wrote about that. And basically, the twins are the sort of backup. There's like a backup brigade at the circus, which put the tent up, do all the maintenance, all that sort of thing. And they were left on the steps of Glad's caravan. Now Glad was the tea making woman and did all the costumes. So any trapeze artist costumes got a rip, she would be in her caravan sewing. So they were left on her step one day, and because being gypsies and moving around, and in those days they didn't bother registering them or anything, she just took them on, and everyone mucked in and helped, and that they became the like mascots of the circus. But when this circus shut, Glad with her caravan and the twins were taken on by Ross and Tasia at the cottage. So they moved the caravan in, plumbed it all in and that. The twins, they did out the loft as a huge bedroom area and for them to mess about in and do their gymnastics and stuff. Put a bed in, you know, ladder with a hatch and all that, and a rope they could climb up. And so they were in the cottage too. Then that's book 1. Sakura comes in book 2. Now, Ross Bond's dad, don't really see him much. You hear him on the phone a lot. Doesn't really have much. It could be a famous person. Because one thing we're going to do, all the characters here are going to be unknowns, the main characters, but we're going to do cameo roles for famous people. And we'll arrange it so that they're only there for half an hour or so. We'll set everything up, say, right, walk in there, say this, and then out the other side, and then that's it. They go back to do whatever they came to England for. So we're planning cameo roles, and what we'll do, we will donate to their charity rather than pay them. You know, well, let's see. I mean, it's all open. We don't know, but yeah. Tasia's parents, when she went, when she turned 18 and went into the TA, and then a couple of years later went out to Afghanistan, they took their savings, left her the council house in Milton Keynes, and went to back to somewhere in Russia. Because obviously they're Russian. It's in the book anyway. I can't remember the name of the place. I've done it all on the map and everything, and all the, because there's one bit where there's drugs coming across the from Iraq and all that, and there's a big operation to stop that in their own town. So that, I think that's in book 2. I think, I'm not sure, but anyway, that's yeah. There's, in these books there isn't just one operation. The book isn't about one thing. It's about what they're doing. So there's several stories, and they all interlink. So, for instance, while they go on to another operation, people from this operation might still be trying to find them. So they'll be fighting 2 lots of people. There's quite a lot of that in the book. Quite a lot of doubling up. Anyway, so we've got her parents. Right, they go back to and buy a house in their own original village or town, and we see them in one of the operations, like I said. Harry's parents, they're obviously down the road in the same village where his school is. They are just people who sit on their couch watching TV. They don't know what he does. He comes in and makes excuses, and occasionally brings back wads of cash. that they've acquired on various operations, which helps. And yeah, and so that's the parents. They do come into it. They come into one of the, I think the Spanish operation, or the Corfu operation. Might be Spanish. Yeah, there's a Spanish villa and a Spanish boat. That's it. But Corfu is another thing, because of the big operation in Corfu, where the Russians are trying to get back the Actroid as well. So, or they're trying to take it for their own good, basically. And in that, at the end of that book too, she actually holes at the waterline a Russian ship from 5 miles away with a big hole. So that's how powerful her weapons are. Right, so we come on. That's the twins. Yeah, they are basically, they are so active because they never actually got their own slot in the circus, because they were back people. I don't know whether you know how a circus operates, but some of the people actually performing at the circus, the people sort of backing them up, well, this particular one, they're probably not in every circus, they're two different entities. They tolerate each other. So the twins would never get, they weren't really good enough to do their own slot. They used to do all the backflips and all that, and and were learning, you know, before this circus shut. And there's an operation to actually try and get the circus back up and running, but it never gains its popularity again, and that's when it breaks up, and we get the twins and Glad. We get those two. Sakura comes into it in book 2. What happens is that the tsunamis happened then, and the lab where these were being made, they'd got to number 6, so she's the R6 module, the very top one, and they didn't know where she had gone, where it had all gone. Everything had been washed away, including the people. There was hardly anything left at all, but we went there and sort of did our own sort of detective work, and found out. Now, we didn't find her in Japan, but there were various people in the Philippines that had found a pod washed up on the beach, and in it was what looked like a human being in perfect condition, but asleep, never rotted, never did anything. So they thought this was some sort of god and put it in their little chapel, put it in their church, and people used to come and see it and look in the pod. Didn't open the pod, and it was classed. She's classed as an angel there, you know. But when we went there and said who she was, that was it, and the rest of it was us trying to get her back from the Philippines without anyone knowing. And we had the use of a RAF Hercules, so that's another whole talk. Is about how we want the Army and the Navy and the Air Force, British, incorporated in these films, because of recruitment as well. It'll do for our British forces what Top Gun did for the American Air Force. There was 900% more people going to the recruiting offices. At the moment, our army has completely messed, or our government has completely messed it up by starting to appease the IRA by saying, yes, you can have these people as fodder who did the shooting in you know, I can't even remember what or where it was or anything about it. But anyway, these people are Soldier F, is it, are going to court because of things they did under operational conditions. It's all right for the IRA to go killing civilians, that's fine, but the soldier doing his, you know, trying to defend himself from people who really have no rules in war whatsoever. They're just trying to cause them maximum damage. And you know, so our recruitment has gone right down here. Nobody's really going, you know, they're having a problem, basically. And so they will, all the while this stupidity from the government carries on. So, so she's the R6 module. We get her back to it. There's a lot of funny things go on while she's coming back to life and that, you know. And Harry's got the got all the programs and things for her, and nobody really knows what she's going to do next. You know, it's all a bit of a touch and go situation. But Harry manages to program her so that we aren't the enemy. And but she's got some weapons on her. One of them is a particle accelerator in one arm. The top half of the arm contains the various accelerants, stuff to fire, in other words, big, small, all different types. Along there is all the magnetic coils to accelerate it. A bit like, if you look on YouTube under railgun, you'll see what I'm talking about. Although that's a huge thing, obviously Japan has, with their electronics, has got all that into one here. And she does quite a lot of damage with that, including holding that Russian ship in Corfu harbour. So, and lots of other things, you know, she saves us quite a lot. The twins do a lot of saving too. There's one bit where Tasia, I think it's Tasia and Ross are in, I think that's how you pronounce Tasia, I don't know. This was someone else's idea, this. I just ran with it, basically. I'm sure Russian girls will tell me what's the correct pronunciation. But yeah, they were standing there. They'd just done a recce on a villa where there was a lot of, I think, drugs going on in Spain. And they'd come back to the van and they'd been chased by two guards with AK-47s who were then standing there aiming them, about to fire. And the two twins happened to be, because they were left by the van, they happened to be doing their acrobatics up in the tree, and they both came down feet first onto these chaps' heads and laid them out, basically. So we got out of that one quickly. And that might have been the very last time we went in there where we set explosives to blow the place up. That's another reason why we want the Army involved, and the Air Force perhaps, and maybe the Navy, because we need real explosives, not film pyrotechnics. We want the real stuff and the real bang and real stuff flying, not cardboard and polystyrene like you see in some of the James Bond films. You know, I can, you know, we're getting wiser now, us cinema going public. A lot of people, because of all the explosions in Afghanistan and YouTube and everything, we now know what explosions are supposed to look like and what firing guns are supposed to look like. You know, so we need everything live firing, real explosives, you know, with shock waves. None of this pyrotechnic bang with a bit of naphthalene smoke, black smoke, none of that. Petrol, you know. That's what we used to use at Bletchley Park. Huge sealed drum of these catering drums that wear the top seals, full of petrol, and a maroon underneath it, facing the crowd, so that they'd see the flash from the maroon, and then there'd be the mushroom cloud of fire and smoke. Yeah, we used to do that, and the reenactors used to say they used to feel the heat from them, which is quite amazing. Yeah, so that's her. Brad does all the, because Sakura and Tasia, and I think the twins get involved, are into anime and that sort of thing. She makes their costumes. They say what costumes they want, and we do visit Comic-Cons around the world. which I've tried to incorporate some of those in the operations. So yeah, that's pretty much the characters in detail. There are quite a few others, but that's probably the main ones. I can't think of anything else. We've got an idea for this chap already. She has now gone from her school and is now working as a model in Russia. So I don't know whether she's still interested or not, but you know, she was the sort of, just looked like what I was thinking of when I wrote her into the book, when I wrote the books. She just looks like the type. Sakura is already, she's got, she's still in the Philippines at the moment. She's got her, she's been told, but and she gets first refusal. I know she's doing quite well in her what she decided to do at college. I think she's doing quite well in that. So I don't think she might not be interested now. I don't know, but she gets first option anyway, and she is exactly again what I'm looking for this role. Twins. We've done the Twins agency in London and told them about it, and they said, tell us, you know, nearer the time, because twins grow up. We need them about 9 or 10, something like that. Harry can be got from, you know, we'll probably run a competition in Wales, and what we'll do, we'll say to them, look, we need a mum and a dad and a boy, and to use their house as well. So the boy will become the actor, and their house and themselves, because remember, these aren't actors as such, because we're doing everything in a reality based theme. There's no actors with lines, you know, and all the usual things you associate with actors, which you can tell they've been to acting school, you know. We want natural looking, who have got used to having cameras around, a bit like Big Brother, and not bothered about the cameras anymore, and just get on with it. Whatever we say do, they go into the room and do it, and we film them and take the best bits of the filming. Even if you've got to film all day for 10 minutes, which is what happens in a real film anyway. All the filming I've been on, at Dial and Pasco, we were there all day, and all you saw was me and my Land Rover go past for a split second. You know, that was the end of it. And Marion Hobbs's bikes we did, on the German motorbike and sidecar, and that was again hanging around all day with a bit of driving for 10-15 minutes. That was it. So we're going to try and improve on that, but I don't know. Yeah, so Glad does all their costumes. Rossbond doesn't have a costume, he's just got military uniform, so is she. Harry's got his schoolboy outfit, but obviously when he's not at school he comes up in other stuff. But he's not bothered about anime, he's not too interested in that, he likes. But he does build their weapons. He does build their weapons. They do stainless steel staffs with, you know, bits on for their Comic-Con, which are actually real, but, you know, could kill somebody, but seem to go unnoticed in a Comic-Con thing. It's like, you know, you could walk in, we used to walk around military shows with guns. You know, not necessarily live, but on our backs. You know, nobody, people used to do a Western themed night at one of the social clubs in Milton Keynes, or in Bletchley, and when they came out they were firing the guns in the air, cowboys, the Western night. Because you're dressed as a cowboy and you've got two guns, nobody pays any attention. It's this mental problem that people have got. You know, so anyway, there's plenty of guns here, but that's weapons is another subject, which I think might be on the sheet. No. Well, I won't go through them here. I'll do it as another subject. It's quite complicated.